NASA believes there could be extraterrestrial life hiding in underground caves on Mars. For as long as humanity has been watching the skies, we've been fascinated with the possibility that other worlds much like Earth might contain living organisms. While our visits to the moon taught us that it's completely barren and uninhabited, other worlds within our solar system remain full of potential. Venus might have life in its cloud tops. Europa and Enceladus might have life teeming in a subsurface ocean of liquid water. Even Titan's liquid hydrocarbon lakes provide a fascinating place to search for exotic living organisms. But by far, the most fascinating possibility is the red planet, Mars. This smaller, colder, more distant partner of Earth most certainly had a wet past where liquid water clearly flowed on the surface for more than 1 billion years. Circumstantial evidence has pointed to the plausibility of life on Mars, not only in the ancient past, but possibly still living and perhaps occasionally active, even today. There are 5 possibilities for life on Mars. Here's what we know so far. We've even observed what's likely to be briny surface water actively flowing down the walls of various craters, although that result is still controversial. All the raw ingredients that are required for life on Earth were abundant on early Mars as well, including a thick atmosphere and liquid water on its surface. Although Mars no longer appears as though it's teeming with life today, there are 3 pieces of evidence that past or even present life might be a possibility. NASA's latest Mars rover, Curiosity, as the seasons changed on Mars, Curiosity detected burps of methane emitted from specific underground locations, but only at the end of Martian winter and with the onset of spring. This is, again, an ambiguous signal at best, as inorganic geochemical processes could be seasonal and result in the release of methane, but organic biological processes could cause this as well. When we look at the full suite of evidence at everything we've learned about Mars, there are 5 possibilities for the history of life on Mars. It could be an eternally barren world. It could be a world where life thrived for a time, but then hit a dead end. It could have extant life on it today. It could have been seeded by Earth life early on, or it could only have Earth-based organisms that made their way there since the dawn of the space age. Here's what each possibility would mean. Mars never had life on it. Despite having the same raw ingredients as early Earth and similar watery conditions, the necessary circumstances that enable life to form simply never occurred on Mars. All the geological and chemical processes that occur inorganically still happen, but nothing organic. Then, in a little more than 3 billion years ago, Mars's atmosphere was stripped away by the sun, drying up any liquid surface water and leading to Mars's current appearance. This is the most conservative stance and would require that all 3 of the proposed positive tests have either an inorganic or contamination-based resolution. This is eminently possible and remains in the minds of many the default assumption, until some very compelling evidence comes along that robustly points to either past or present life on Mars. This will likely remain the leading hypothesis. Mars had life early on, but it died out. This situation, in many ways, is just as exciting. It's very easy to imagine that a world with a thick atmosphere, similar to early Earth's, stable liquid water on its surface, continents with rich geological diversity, volcanoes, a magnetic field, a day similar in length to our own, and temperatures only marginally cooler than Earth's today, could lead to life. To many, it's virtually impossible to imagine that these conditions, after more than 1 billion years, wouldn't lead to life, considering that life arose on Earth no more than a few 100 million years after its formation. However, the loss of the Martian atmosphere had a profound effect on the planet and could have resulted in the extinction of all life on Mars. Drilling down into the sedimentary rock of Mars and searching for fossilized life forms or even metamorphized carbon-rich inclusions could potentially reveal the evidence necessary to validate this scenario. Mars had early life, and it still persists in mostly dormant form beneath the surface. This is the most optimistic, but still scientifically viable, view of life on Mars. Perhaps life took hold early on, and when Mars lost its atmosphere, a few extremophiles remained in a sort of frozen, suspended animation state. When the right conditions emerged, perhaps underground, where liquid water can occasionally flow, that life wakes up and begins performing its critical biological functions. If this is the case, then there are still organisms to be found beneath the Martian surface, perhaps in the shallow sands just a few feet or even mere inches below our spacecraft. We are likely only talking about single-celled life, perhaps not even reaching the complexity of a eukaryotic cell, but life on any world other than Earth would still be a revolution for science. NASA's Perseverance rover, when launched successfully on July 30th, 2020, will collect critical soil samples to attempt to test this hypothetical situation. Mars didn't have life until Earth seeded it, naturally. 65 million years ago, a very large, fast-moving body impacted Earth, creating Chicxulub crater and kicking up enough material to blanket the Earth in a cloud of debris, leading to the fifth great mass extinction in Earth's history. And, like many massive impacts, this one likely kicked up small pieces of Earth all the way into space, the same way that impactors on the Moon or Mars send meteors throughout the solar system, where some of them eventually land on Earth. A few impacts likely go the other way as well, sending Earth-borne material to other worlds, including Mars. It seems unreasonable that the material in Earth's crust, rich in organic life, wouldn't make it to Mars at all. Instead, it's eminently plausible that Earth-based organisms made it to Mars and began reproducing there, whether they thrived or not. Perhaps someday we'll be able to know the full story of life on Mars and determine whether any of it has the same common ancestor that all extant Earth life is descended from. It's a fascinating possibility that isn't easy to dismiss. Our modern space program spread Earth-based life to Mars. Finally, Mars truly was a barren, lifeless planet, at least for billions of years, until the dawn of the space age. Perhaps spaceborne materials that weren't 100% decontaminated or sterilized landed on the Martian surface, bringing modern Earth organisms with them as stowaways. Scientists think if there is life on Mars, it's likely to be hidden in deep underground caves. This theory is supported by NASA experts, and the U.S. Space Agency will be sending a new rover to the Red Planet this summer. Some scientists think that agile robots should be made that could try and explore the cave system on Mars. It's the ultimate nightmare for astrobiologists that there's a fascinating history of life to uncover on another world, but we'll contaminate it with our own organisms before we ever learn the true history of life on that world. In the worst-case scenario, it could be the case that with surviving simple life on Mars of Martian origin, but that Earth life arrived and outcompeted it, driving it to a rapid extinction. This very real, healthy fear is why we're frequently so conservative from a biological perspective when we explore other planets and foreign worlds. More than 1,000 potential cave entrances have been mapped on Mars by the U.S. Geological Survey's Astrogeology Science Center. Building quick robots to enter all these potential caves would be costly and difficult. However, Stemenkovic has proposed that NASA could use a rover that could sense underground groundwater or chemicals associated with life from the surface. This would make it easier to target specific areas that life is most likely to be found. NASA intends to send its WED rover to Mars later this year. The plan is for the 2,260-pound space probe to gather new events of life that's alive or extinct and send Martian samples back to Earth. So we hope that you liked the video, and we will come with some amazing videos like this in the future. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that red icon to stay updated. Till then, goodbye.